Hey there folks, and just in case our top-down character is feeling a little bit left out, I thought I'd just go through how to do the exact same logic we've been doing with the tile sets and the tile maps, but this time use it to create a level area that's going to work for our top-down character to move over. And obviously that means we can get rid of this really rubbish default cube and all the lighting information that's here. So what I'm going to need to do first of all is I'm going to need to find a texture, and I'm going to need to bring that in. I've already done that, and I've brought this texture in, and you can see I've got this texture 2D tiles. And one of the core things that I've obviously done on this straight away is applied paper 2D texture settings. And the things to look at here with a lot of these tiles for top down is you're going to find these kind of reusable modular elements here where we're covering things like corners, sides, middle areas, and these are absolutely really perfect for, obviously defining spaces, because we've got ones we can fill in everything with. And then we've got all the different kind of combinations where we can put these together to create any kind of patterning and shape. And these go even further. You start looking at things like RPG, fantasy ones where maybe you've got water, sand, stone and stuff. And we have the meetups between each of those. What you're probably going to find is one tile map or even multiple tile sets could all be used to create and blend between different locations. So with this created, let's go ahead now and let's create ourselves a tile set. So we're right clicking here, we're going to go sprite actions, and we're going to create ourselves a tile set. Now, I've got this tile set open, and the first thing that I'm going to notice here is obviously that I need to change the tile size. Now, this one defaulted to 32 by 32, but I've used this 9 grid element here to really help me with that by saying, if I know that this is 9, that means that there should be 4 corners, 4 sides, and a middle section. So I've used that to guide me that this is actually a 16 by 16 element. I can also have a look at obviously changing the colour. This background colour helped me with seeing the difference, because when it came in, this really dark blue was just not useful. So if you've got a dark tile set like I have, it can be useful to use a lighter colour to help you see it. Whereas if you've got something obviously that's very light, having a darker value gives you that contrast. Now, with this, I've also gone through and I've selected a whole bunch of these different options. And you can see if I turn on colliding tiles, I've already turned on collision on a whole bunch of these just to get me started. And obviously, you can do the exact same thing. A lot of the time, what you're going to find is, sadly, you can't just select multiple of these and just click and add the multiple kind of boxes to every single one. So you do have to do this kind of repetitive element. But once it's done, it's done. So rather than you guys having to keep on watching me do this, I've done a bunch of them already to get started. And I'm just going to finish off this shape now. Just seems as, I've already started it, but I'm probably not going to use these in the little demo that we're going to do. So here we go. These are all done. And once these are all done, we can come back into this later on to add some more. So with that done, what I'm going to now do is I'm going to go and create myself a tile map that is going to be using this. Okay, so here is my tile map, and as you can see, I've already kind of done a little bit of fixing with it. I've created it, I've set it to 25 by 25 in terms of the amount of tiles we're going to have width and height wise, just to give me something I can walk around on. Remember that it can be small pieces that you put together. You don't need to start off by making one that is 500 by 500. In fact, that's going to be the worst way of approaching it. It's just not modular or easy for you to edit. Cover that in a future video. We'll look at some of the constraints and problems with the tile maps and how to approach those and work around those in Unreal. But for now, small, manageable, modular sections are going to be great, 25 by 25. And you can see that I can use this to now start painting in interesting kind of patterned areas onto this. I've set up one base layer, which is going to be my gameplay layer. Maybe in the future I'll come in and I'll edit this and I'll put in something like, maybe a foreground element. But for now, I'm just going to get somewhere for my character to have a little bit of a walk around on. Now, with that done, things that I can actually also do in here is obviously play around with these individual tiles. I could use the flipping kind of stuff, flip the brush vertically and horizontally. You can also rotate things, so I'm not going to do it necessarily with him, but you can see that with this guy here, I could rotate him and have tiles go around in opposite ways. So if you don't find that you've got all the tiles that you need, you can do things that way as well. But for now, I've got this set up, 16 by 16, layer is colliding, and it's all on the default values, so default 50 on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into here now, and I'm going to drag that in order to replace the world. Now, looking at that, we go, well, I can't really walk on that. It's vertical, but we can rotate it and it just becomes like a flat plane to replace our floor. And I'm going to set this here to be around about where my character's position is for starting. I'm going to delete this giant floor that already was here, and one of the things I might just need to do is just snap my character up and then press end to snap them back down, so the bottom of their capsule collides with the collision of the floor. And that's why I've got these collisions on. You can see that I can now see why there's a gap there. Yeah, you can see the gap between the tile map and that's useful because it means at least, you know, in that instance that our character is going to be colliding with this, and it's creating a surface for AI and other characters and enemies and stuff to move across, for projectiles to bounce up and hit onto. And what else do we need to do? Well, let's get rid of the whole of this lighting folder and let's press play to see what this looks like. There we go. So our character, because they're using gravity to fall down on this, can walk along on that collision surface. Yes, there's still a little bit of a collision, a clipping issue with the tile sets, and that's something we'll do with the conditioning later on. But my character can move around on this. I can press spacebar to do my little dashing abilities, and they can attack in all their different directions. Perfect. Okay, so that's going to get you started, hopefully, there on making a very simple kind of tile map for a top-down character. Most of the stuff is exactly the same. The only thing that I would warn you of on this is that this does rely on collision of our character hitting down onto this and stopping. So one of the things you might need to do with this is maybe if you wanted to use like what we've done with the side-scroller character, the constraints, you would struggle with that one because the character's falling down and constantly colliding with the floor. If we were to go in here and we were to go and search for something like constrain, yeah, I'm just going to show you this. If I was constraining maybe on the Z, and we think that would be logical, well, what's going to happen is our character's actually going to float above the Z. So you can see here, he's fine, he's perfectly fine here, but as he starts moving, because he's not being affected by gravity and being pulled down onto the surface, I'm releasing the key, and he just glides across the surface, and actually you'll get quicker and quicker and quicker in some cases. So things like if I used a dash, you can see he just gets thrown off into the ether. So it's something just to keep a consideration of. We can't really do the constraining options the same way when we're doing it on the top down, because we need them to collide with that floor in order to create that for us. Exactly the same as we've done with the other ones. You can obviously come in here and add yourself a post-process volume. So let's add in this post-process volume. Let's set it to be unbound so that it affects the whole world. Give it a name. So I'm going to go with global PP volume. And in here, let's go with our exposure. And I'm just going to set this with what we've done already to have like a metering mode that exists between like 4 and 4. Is that going to be too dark? Possibly a little bit too dark for what we've got with our tile sheets, but we can play around with this value. So there we go, something like that. Now we don't have anything where it's suddenly starting to glow, and we've got things that we can now start playing with our different enemies, different kind of AI pickups and dangers and hazards, and we've got an actual playable level that's 2D, built with the 2D stuff for our top-down or our side-scroller characters to start walking around in. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing to access more of my Unreal Engine content.